What if I told you that the largest continental empire in history was built by an illiterate outcast who, as a child, was terrified of dogs? His name became synonymous with animalistic terror. Chroniclers wrote that even the Antichrist would be more merciful, as Genghis Khan's warriors spared no one, slaughtering men, women, and infants, and ripping open the wombs of pregnant women. His empire consumed a quarter of the world's entire population. But who was he before he became the scourge of God and the master of thrones? This isn't the story of an all-powerful conqueror. This is the story of a boy named Temüjin who lost his father, his status, his freedom, and for several years lived a life of abject poverty. How did he, while locked in a wooden kang, manage not only to survive in the brutal world of warring steppe clans, but to unite them all, creating an invincible army? In this episode, we'll break down 5 key turning points that transformed this hunted outcast into the master of the world. You'll see how just one gift, one betrayal, and one brilliant decision changed the map of Eurasia forever. To understand who Genghis Khan became, you must first see the world he was born into. Imagine an endless steppe with no cities or fortresses. Life here was nomadic, following the herds, and power wasn't held by stone walls, but by the point of a spear. This was a world of dozens of tribes, Merkits, Taichiots, Tatars, all locked in constant warfare. It was into this environment, in the family of an influential chieftain named Yasugei, that a boy was born. By tradition, he is named after a freshly captured enemy, a Tatar leader named Temüjin. The midwives notice a clot of dried blood in his tiny palm, a sign his tribesmen would interpret as a portent of a great and bloody destiny. At 9 years old, Temüjin's life seemed set. His father betrothed him to Borte, the daughter of a neighboring chief, a typical political alliance to strengthen his power. But on the return journey, disaster strikes. Yasugei encounters the Tatars, his clan's old enemies. After a brief meeting, he suddenly falls ill and dies. To everyone, it was obvious. It was poison. In an instant, the 9-year-old boy's world collapsed. The family had lost its protector, and therefore its power. His father's people, unwilling to follow a widow and her children, simply turned their carts around and left, abandoning them alone on the steppe. This wasn't just grief. This was a fall to the absolute bottom. Now, let's break down what this meant. In this brutal world, Temüjin learned his first and most important lesson. Power is not inherited, it is held by force. Loyalty exists only as long as you are strong. The years that followed his father's death became a struggle for survival for his family. They lived in a destitute life, and Temüjin, as the eldest male, was forced to scavenge for food. It was then his steel will first emerged. When his older half-brother, Bektur, began taking food from the younger siblings, Temüjin and his full brother coldly hunted him down and killed him. This wasn't a childish squabble. This was the first act of establishing his own order, brutal but necessary for his family's survival. For this murder, he was captured and locked in a kang, but even from that he managed to escape. The steppe didn't break him, it forged him. Every day of humiliation and hunger became fuel for his future vengeance and limitless ambition. After his escape and several years of wandering, Temüjin is a nobody. He has no land, no warriors, no status. But he has one single asset remaining, secured long ago by his father, his fiancée, Borte. He finds her family and, against all odds, marries her. This marriage is his last chance to get back in the great game. And it is Borte who brings a dowry that will, without exaggeration, change the course of world history. It wasn't just clothing, but a luxurious cloak of black sable, a fortune equivalent to a large flock of sheep. Temüjin had no army, but he had a sharp mind. He realized this luxury item could be converted into something far greater. Temüjin takes this cloak and travels to the most powerful steppe chieftain of the time, Togrul Khan, leader of the Keri tribe. Togrul had been a sworn blood brother to his late father. Temüjin presents the cloak not as a plea for help, but as a gift of respect, reminding him of the sacred bond of blood brotherhood that tied Togrul to his deceased father. And the move worked perfectly. The rich gift and the show of respect won the old chieftain's favor. He takes Temüjin under his patronage and helps him reclaim the lands that belonged to his clan. Overnight, Temüjin transformed from a fugitive to a legitimate heir, recognized by the highest authority on the steppe. Let's consider the genius of this move. Temüjin didn't trade the cloak for food or livestock to solve his immediate problems. He invested his only capital in power. And this started a chain reaction. As soon as word spread across the steppe that the young, audacious Temüjin was under the protection of Togrul Khan himself, warriors began to flock to him. But these weren't just tribesmen. These were men who followed him not by his lineage, but by his personality, a strong and promising leader. It was at this moment that Temüjin began to form the core principle of his future empire. He promoted people not based on noble birth, but on their personal qualities, loyalty, bravery, and talent. This is how his future great generals, the four hounds of Genghis Khan, emerged, men from the black bone, commoners, who would owe everything to him personally. He was creating a new center of power, based not on blood, but on personal loyalty. What does a ruler do when the only ones standing in his path to absolute power are the very people he owes everything to, his sworn brother and his adopted father? In a cruel irony, the final obstacles for Temüjin were his blood brother, Jamukha, and his powerful patron, Togrul Khan. His allies of yesterday, seeing the unshakable power he was building, united to destroy him. They dealt him a crushing defeat, forcing him to flee and taste ashes once again. But they failed to account for one thing. Temüjin, having endured humiliation and the Kang, no longer lost twice. He returned, and in a series of bloody battles, he crushed them both. He destroyed those who had once created him. As he died, his main rival, Jamukha, delivered both his verdict and a prophecy. Just as there is room for only one sun in the sky, there must be only one Lord in Mongolia. The entire steppe holds its breath. At the Onon River, a great Kurultai is assembled, a council of all the tribes that, just yesterday, were slaughtering each other. And here, before tens of thousands of warriors, the unbelievable happens. Temüjin, son of Yasuge, dies. In his place, Genghis Khan is born. This isn't just a name change, it's the birth of a new reality. He proclaims the creation of the Great Mongol state, the Yeke Mongol Ulos, and then he unleashes the Great Yasa upon his people, a code of laws forged from steel and blood. This law eradicates the centuries-old way of life in a single blow. From now on, there are no Tartars, no Karets, no Merkits. There is only one people, the Mongols. And any internal conflict is now the gravest of crimes, punishable by death. Just think about what he did. He carried out a social revolution. He reforged this entire boiling cauldron of tribal hatred into a single monolith. How? With a brilliant and ruthless algorithm. He introduces the decimal system, organizing all men into units of tens, hundreds, and thousands. He mixes warriors from different clans, permanently shattering the old blood ties. Now, your family is your unit of 10, your god is your commander, and your only sovereign is the Khan. This system was cemented by fear. If one man fled, his entire unit of 10 was executed. And at the pinnacle of this pyramid, he placed a 10,000-man personal guard, the Keshig, war dogs loyal only to him, who served as his eyes, ears, and punishing sword. The chaos of the steppes was tamed. In its place, the most perfect and disciplined war machine the world had ever seen. What happens when a force of nature, one that knows no walls, crashes into a world built of stone? Having forged the nomadic tribes into a single military monolith, Genghis Khan turned his gaze south to the Jin Empire, a civilizational giant. Here, war was fought by different rules. There were no camps, but fortified cities, protected by a regular army and centuries of engineering. The Great Wall of China, the eternal barrier between two worlds, was merely a symbolic obstacle for the Mongol horde. It did not prove insurmountable, but the real test awaited them beyond it, where their cavalry charges shuddered against impregnable bastions. In the open field, the Jin army was doomed, but at the walls of the capital, Zhengdu, the Mongol avalanche ground to a halt. Their usual tactics of raids and attrition didn't work here. It was a strategic impasse that could have ended the entire campaign. And here, Genghis Khan makes a decision that will forever separate him from all previous steppe conquerors. He launches a new kind of war. Instead of retreating, he begins a systematic hunt for enemy mines. The capture of Chinese engineers was industrialized. Their knowledge, their technology, their blueprints for siege engines, all of it became booty more valuable than gold or silk. The Mongols didn't just learn, they assimilated their enemy's entire military-industrial complex, forcing it to work for them. In just a few years, they became some of the most effective siege specialists in the world. When Zhengdu fell in 1215, it meant one thing. From now on, no walls were safe from this army. The success of the Mongol conquests was not a series of lucky raids, but the result of a precise and ruthless doctrine. It consisted of three key elements. The first was psychological terror. Genghis Khan's cruelty was a tool. Every city was given a choice: immediate surrender or complete annihilation. A massacre in one place was a demonstration meant to break the will to resist in dozens of others. Terror flew ahead of their army. The second element, total adaptation. The Mongols, like a virus, absorbed and used the strengths of their enemies. From the Chinese, they took gunpowder and siege technology. From others, mountain warfare tactics. Their network of spies, disguised as merchants, turned intelligence into a full-fledged branch of the military, ensuring total awareness. And the third decisive element, absolute autonomy. Unlike the armies of Europe and Asia, the Mongols were not dependent on supply lines. Their horde was a self-sufficient nomadic ecosystem. Warriors, families, herds, and artisans all moved together. They could appear from nowhere, strike, and dissolve back into the steppe, leaving only ashes behind. He died as he lived, in the saddle, during his final campaign. But death was powerless to stop what he created. Any other empire held together by the genius of one man, like the empire of Alexander the Great, would have crumbled to dust upon his passing. But Genghis Khan left behind more than just conquered lands. He left a will written in blood and an immortal mechanism of conquest that his sons and grandsons were commanded to set in motion. His order was simple: expand the empire to the last sea. And they executed it. His son, Ögedei, was chosen as his successor, and he did what his father, who lived his entire life in a yurt, never did. He began to build a capital, the stone city of Karakorum, with a Khan's palace in the middle of the endless steppe. This wasn't just a city, it was a symbol of a tectonic shift. The horde was becoming an empire. Taxes appeared, a census, a postal service, the Yam, capable of delivering an order from Asia to Europe in 2 weeks. While Genghis Khan's grandson, Batu, was carving a path of fire and blood through the Rus and approaching the borders of Europe, a complex state machine adopting the best Chinese models of administration was already running in the heart of their domain. So who was he? A demon of destruction or an architect of a new world? The answer is both. His name is forever linked to mountains of skulls and rivers of blood. Entire civilizations, like the prosperous Khwarezmian Empire, were erased from the face of the earth. Across all the lands of the Rus, only a few stone churches survived the invasion. Such was the price of their arrival. But from this primordial chaos, the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace, was born. For the first time in thousands of years, the Great Silk Road became one secure space. A merchant could cross all Asia with a single caravan, fearing neither bandits nor borders. It was then that the technologies that would change the future, gunpowder, the compass, printing, flowed into Europe. Genghis Khan was the hurricane that tore down the old world. But it was on the land he cleared that the foundations of the states we know today, Russia and China, were laid. Thus ended the life of one man, and began the era that bears his name. But the story of Genghis Khan's empire doesn't end with his death. It is only beginning. His true legacy was his grandsons, a generation of conquerors in whose veins his blood flowed and his fire burned. This was only the first episode in our saga of the greatest empire in history. In the following episodes, we will see how his heirs divide the world, how they will burn Baghdad to the ground, reach the shores of the Adriatic, conquer all China to found a new imperial dynasty, and, on the ruins of the Rus principalities, build the mighty Golden Horde. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. The story of his glorious heirs will be no less bloody and no less great.